As I understand it, we've got a double bye for the basketball team in the ACC tournament. Of course, the football team received no such luxury and actually played an extra game compared to many of its counterparts in the college football playoff, and getting set for 2026 in a matter of days. Welcome into Canes Live. We talk Miami football with all of you each and every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. You should have it locked and loaded. Tell the friends, tell the family, tell the acquaintances, whether rivals or not, or adversaries on social media. This is the place to be to talk Miami football with all of you. Cam Underwood's State of the U is, of course, the man who breaks it all down for us. Cam, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right. Can't complain. Glad to be here on a Wednesday evening with everybody. And yeah, the double bye for the Miami Hurricanes is concluded. We are playing Louisville again in the quarterfinals. We just played them last Saturday on Senior Day, and they squeaked SMU. And so, yeah, we rematch. So, got to win this one.
The odds have yet to be posted on FanDuel. Louisville at 11-7 in the ACC, and Miami finished a fine 13-5 in the conference.
Yep, third in the conference regular season, plus 1,700 to win the ACC tournament, which was actually lower than Louisville's. So I guess FanDuel is saying what heading in to the conference tournament, at least what the odds were. But that's why we play the games, my friend. So, yeah, lace them up tomorrow, 2:30 in the afternoon from Charlotte. Going to dust off the old Twitter fingers and actually live tweet probably at least the full second half. I don't know about the whole game, just because through basketball season, I haven't been live tweeting, even though I've been watching. So, or, you know, on Wednesday games, I'm here with you guys and then catch the second half and everything. So, it's like 1 year when I worked at Miramar, I was not announcing all of the games, but I announced the playoffs. And so in the FHSAA script, it says, you know, starting lineups and everything. And I went to go do it. They go, whoa, nah. We haven't had starting lineups all year. We're, you know, whatever the record was. Teams are going to go to the center for the jump ball, you know, so just continue that going. But yeah, that is great. And, you know, we have plenty of other things to talk about as well.
We are presented by FanDuel. Check out the odds right there. Again, Louisville and Miami getting it together. And if you love college basketball, this is your time. Falconer X, we do so much appreciate you kicking us off as always. Thank you, man. Appreciate you, your contributions, your support. You are one of the faithful ones for sure. Falconer coming back with this one, 2025 plus the playoff run. Canes are dynamite.
Amen.
I did not try to give it my Jimmy J.J. Walker dynamite.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we're doing pretty well.
And we've got Mark Perry. Thank you for the contribution there. I'll gladly be second to the GOAT Falconer.
Oh, man. Leroy is going to take umbrage against that, so he's going to have to fight back out of the corner. But yeah, no, yeah, we can get started. But glad to be here with all you guys. And Mark Perry, you know, I see it's been a while since you've been here for a live show, so hopefully we put on a good show for you, my friend.
Well, we should be able to get off to a pretty good start considering the basketball team's in great shape to make a run. And now we also have, of course, coming in the last 5 days, one of the premier playmakers in all of high school football has chosen the U.
Yeah, man. Nick Lennear from Northwestern transferred to Carroll City. You know, he's everybody's All-American. He's a 5-star. He's at the top of the list. There were some people who remember when there was the linebacker from Central who went to Maryland, and then people were saying he was not the good one. Wesley Basaint the next year was actually the guy.
Yes.
Basically, copy paste with Calvin Russell and Nick Lennear. There were a lot of people who were like, whatever happens with Calvin Russell, cool. This other kid is the kid.
Ooh.
Yeah. So 6 foot tall, about 165, 170 pounds. Looking at the composite, number 12 in the country, 5-star, number 3 wide receiver, number 2 in the state of Florida. Nick Lennear, yeah, he's a big play waiting to happen. This is a kid who, and I said it last week, that even though he wasn't on a lot of the rundowns for the 305 day recruiting party, I said I would be shocked if he's not there. He's a kid who made during the All-American game lead up, he made them watch the I think it was a semifinal game in the playoffs. He was just yo, I don't care that we got all these kids from all these places in this lobby on this TV. This is what we finna do. Get with it or get gone. And yeah, I mean, like I said, I even said it last week. I'll believe that Nick Lennear is not going to be a Hurricane when I see him in a jersey making a play for another institution. Regardless of a commitment, or early commitment or anything, he is all that and the bag of chips. He's at the top of the screen right there. This is when he was at Northwestern. Oh, that's a quick screen. Soup, 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 soup. Oh, skeet, skeet. And to the apartments is where we go. So, this is a kid who, you want him on your team. You need him on your team. Nice little switch route release and then beating 2 guys there. Like a lot of players in high school, he does play both ways. And that's a very nice read and a tackle. He's playing wide receiver. So do not get caught up in these defensive highlights. Nick Lennear, 5-star receiver, played it. I mean, at least he played it, and that's a nice form tackle with physicality, by the way. He did play both ways at Northwestern. I don't know if he's going to play both ways at Carroll City this upcoming year. But yeah, I mean, and you can see him all the way out there. And again, a stop route. And I'm just better. He's not good as me, Malachi Tony kind of thing. Yeah, this is the kind of kid that we've seen go elsewhere repeatedly. Now we've had a couple of them recently. Amon Richards was some years ago now, but that was a guy who we beat Alabama head up for. Malachi Tony, that's the kind of kid who doesn't end up here. Joshua Moore, that's the kind of kid who doesn't end up here. But Nick Lennear is on that Malachi Tony impact kind of level, even more than Joshua Moore. Who was a high 4-star, but this kid is capital T, the truth. So yeah, a huge kid. He committed at the end barbecue gathering of the 305-day recruiting event last Thursday. Super excited to have him in the class, starting to get that momentum going into this visit window. And because the dead period just ended, which is why they were cool, we want something on 305 day as we're getting the ability to have in-person visits with the players again. And very few bigger than Nick Lennear, and he is committed to stay home. Let's go Slick Nick. So yeah, that's a big get for Miami. Very excited. Also, I do believe that is another data point where anybody who says that receivers coach Kevin Beard is both terrible at his job and does not know how to recruit can have a nice cool glass of shut the fuck up.
So I've not heard of this player. I'm not in the recruiting game, obviously, except for by extension of the people that I interview and then pick it up from there. And we have not been asked, to my recollection, about him. It being only March of the current year, going into National Signing Day a long ways away in December, was it kind of a given that he was going to Miami?
Yeah, like I said, I mean, I've believed that he was going to be a Miami Hurricane for a while. Yeah. And obviously we do focus on current year recruits as opposed to year out, but or the next subsequent year. But like I said, there was plenty of talk of Nick Lennear when, even in the chat, when I would mention or we would talk about Calvin Russell, There's plenty of people in the chat like, hopefully we lock down a top 5 class this time. There's a lot of momentum going on right now. And we need that. There's some flips as well as uncommitted guys that we will need. But along that path, if you hit the Paulo super chat there, Mark Matthews, plural, Josh Johnson, and Caden Henderson next. 5-star, 5-star, 5-star. Mark Matthews, number 1 tackle in America from St. Thomas Aquinas. Another lifelong Miami Hurricane fan who's had Miami at the top of his list for a good long time, and we've had him at the top of ours in this class. Lots of predictions that he will be picking Miami. Josh Johnson is a defensive tackle. Forgive me. Oh, yeah, that's right. Key West, 6'5", 270. I almost took a job at Key West High School one time. It was just a little too far for your boy. But, yeah, a big dude who can play very, very well. So it's another 5-star. Caden Henderson, Tampa Jesuit, 5-star linebacker. All these guys were down for 305 day. All these guys have been at the top of the list for who Miami is recruiting at their positions in this class. All of them are priority targets. Josh Johnson, I believe, is down to Florida and Miami, but pretty much everybody internal to Miami and external. And I mean that in terms of like coverage, believes that, Miami has taken a big step forward with him. Like I said, Mark Matthews, we've been to the front of his recruitment, engaged. There's lots of teams that want Caden Henderson, but it seems like Miami is trying to make a move there as well. But yeah, you want to get those 3 5-stars on top of the 5-star we just got. I'm with it. You want to add in Andre Hippolyte, safety from North Miami. I'm with that too. But the staff is really good at recruiting, and they're recruiting at positions. So even if you're thinking, well, we're still waiting on a cornerbacks coach, and we haven't had the tight ends coach officially announced by the university, right? Offensive line, they have a coach for that position already. Defensive tackle, Damian Lewis got a coach for that position already. Caden Henderson, that only happens to be your defensive coordinator, Corey Heather. There's a position coach for that already. So, and we're looking at these 5-stars at the top of the list. So, yeah, Miami is doing work.
I am probably jumping the gun on this question because it seemed to be something that we discuss annually, but probably more in the June camp range. And that's you looking at, let's say, a position group and saying, we need help across the defensive line, for example. And there's these 5 guys that I want. We're not going to get them all. I'd love to get 3. I'd love to get 2. These are the preferences. Are you starting to think in that direction at all?
A little bit. I mean, that's just always my thought process in general of narrowing it down and seeing who can be added to the roster to fill the gaps that I think are there. Obviously, the proliferation of the transfer portal changes that calculus slightly, but I firmly believe that you build a championship roster through high school and subsequent, or augment that through the portal. So, yeah, there'll be some of that. Maybe not just yet. I think I need to see some more dominoes fall before we get to that point of things.
5 commits at this point. Nick Lennear, Jalen Jones, DeMarcus DeRoche.
Yep.
If I pronounced that correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And Amari Stevens and Zaquan Linton are the 5.
All talented blue chip guys across a number of positions. So Israel Abrams, Miami is making moves with several quarterbacks right now. So there's Davin Davidson from west coast of Florida somewhere. So Israel Abrams is from the outskirts of Chicago, Lombard, Illinois. That's a guy that has been on the radar that we are pushing for. Could end up being the quarterback in this class. Davin Davidson, also state champion. And there was somebody, they've continued to kind of kick the tires on Trent Seaborn, who's committed to Alabama. but maybe they've pivoted fully to Israel Abrams. I don't know. I think that's a reasonable chance. Obviously, Miami's had good success recruiting in Chicago recently. Could be making a move. I mean, and it's a great sell. Like, we have a program that's, on the ascendancy. We played in the national championship game. We were 41 yards away from a title. Like, even if you want to come and sit a year, like, 6'4", 190. If he ends up being the number 3 quarterback in America, I would be hard pressed to think that he would not be a 5-star. I know that he's number 44 in the composite currently, but he's an athletic kid. He can run around. He can make some throws. Watched his highlight the other day. Yeah, this is definitely a kid that we would like. I think that he would fit here, even if you might have to, again, sit a year before you become the guy, because few true freshmen do step into being the guy. Slug Bruce says we need wonderful Mons. I mean, I'm fine with everybody having their favorite quarterback. I'm not necessarily sure that we need him. Like, if we get Abrams, why do we need Mons? You know what I mean? And you're probably only going to take one. And even if, I think Mons is a 27, but even if Mons was a 28, then you're pretty much all in on Neiman Lawrence in 28. So, yeah.
So I would harbor some guesses on where the first quarterback, Abrams, in terms of who would be in the mix. But when you're that good, when you're that high on the board, the nation's wide open. USC could be in the mix. Who knows? But being in Chicago, Michigan comes to mind, Notre Dame. But again, being at that stature on the board, everybody's in play.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, he's pretty darn good. Wonderful Mons from Vero Beach, yeah. Again, obviously not rated as high on the composite, but still a strong 4-star. I know a lot of people do like Mons. I have not watched his last year's highlight. The most recent one that I'd watched was Israel Abrams, so I will have to go back and look at it. But I wouldn't be mad. I'm not necessarily. I don't know. I need to go look at Mons again after this past season. So we'll see. Darian Coleman is on the roster already. He's there. I am excited to see what he does this spring. A lot of optimism about him, a lot of optimism about his arm talent and the way that he plays and just the way that he carries himself in a way that is mature, more mature than his years. Whispers that there are some in the building who like him much more than Luke Nickel. So, I mean, no, yeah, just talking about future recruits is not negating those who are on the roster. But you did bring him up, and I get why you brought him up and everything, Bo. Absolutely. Yeah, but no, he's already signed. He's gone through, the first little bit of off-season after he graduated early, and has spring ball coming up in a couple weeks.
And correct me if I'm wrong, going back to our conversations around the time that he committed, he's a little slender, a little slight, correct?
Yes. Yeah. And he's never going to be a big, bulky guy, so he has to get, just more wiry, lively strength about himself. Yeah, he is. I mean, his physical stature is more that of a slot receiver than a quarterback. So he's going to have to overcome some of those things, and being 6 feet tall, maybe. You know what I mean? Like, with an offensive line last year that averaged 6'5.5", 330. Like, I know that we're not running under center a lot, but we do. And you still got to see, I mean, a lot of those, interior passing options, and you got to find your window. And hey, he's done it. Maybe he's developed a way to do that and everything. That's fine. I'm not saying he can't, just saying that's a thing that he will have to overcome. just based on physical stature. That's just a fact.
It brings to mind a clip that I saw where Tom Brady was talking about how different quarterbacks have to adjust to physical limitations, including himself. But then the issue of height came up, and Drew Brees came up, and I am just in awe of somebody's ability to, like Tom Brady was talking about how he learned to basically throw off of his tippy toes. And if you envision Drew Brees and the highlight reels of watching him play 20 years in the NFL, absolutely. And to play at that level and have to overcome that and to do that repeatedly just seems like, wow, that is such a skill to have to make automatic.
Yeah.
In addition to all the other things, which I consider quarterback, especially at that level, to be the most difficult position to play in sports.
Yeah.
Wow. Crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is what it is. Hey, your height is your height, and you got to figure it out. And if I'm going to play this position, then I had to figure out a way to do the job, and did. So good on him.
Paolo, we appreciate you being here. You know that the potential of what this class could be if Mario lands a couple more 5-star guys. Is this class what we kind of expected coming off the 24 season?
That's what I did, yeah, for sure. And we did get some of those guys. And that's why I was a little apoplectic through last recruiting cycle, even with getting a lot of guys that, I like, and closing on a lot of guys late, my boy JJ Dunnigan and Samorian Wingo and Milan Paris and, some of the flip guys and whatnot. I was expecting more of this. I was expecting more of like the bomb squad. Like, we're just going to go and rack up 5-star. I thought it was going to be a little bit more like my recruiting on my Miami dynasty on the college football video game, like picking from the top, choosing and selecting who we want. Let me get that. Let me get that. Let me get that. Let me get that. Wasn't 100% that. So yeah, this feels if the strong run has begun with Nick Lennear and continues with, the Matthews and the Abrams and the Hendersons and the Johnsons and yeah, that would feel more like what many people put out there as what the expectation honestly was coming off of the 10-2 season, regular season in 2024.
You mentioned with an earlier recruit, it coming down possibly to Miami and the University of Florida. So this is what always goes through my mind is, okay, Florida, Miami, where are these two programs right now? Well, Miami has become, if it can sustain what it did last year, and it, by all indications, it will, it's an elite program. It's back to being a top 5 or 6 program in the country. Florida is lost right now. Now, John Sumrall is a fine coach, and he may right the wrongs, but there could be only 2 reasons for me why anyone would choose the University of Florida over the University of Miami at this stage of the game. And that would be they just got a bigger paycheck, which we know that few programs, if any, have greater resources than Miami. It's just probably the way it's allocated or how they're going to budget it for their various pursuits in the recruiting and transfer portal game. So number 1 would be paycheck. Number 2 would be just some kind of overwhelming vibe with the coaching staff and just feeling like you belong there. But other than that,
I guess, yeah, I don't see many reasons to go there either. And I got in there and chose not to go there. So I know people are saying, you're stupid. You didn't get in there. I applied to Florida and got in there and chose electively Miami, among others. So miss me with that. But yeah, I just don't see it. I just don't. Well, especially what I will say, if I'm going to be realistic, if you look at like Caleb Banks and Tyreek Sapp recently and other players they've had on the defensive line, even when they've been terrible, they have developed defensive linemen and put them in the league with, middle to high draft picks. And so if you're kind of insulating yourself and saying, this college town is my vibe, this is where I want to be, and I'm going to get developed, and I'm going to make plays, and I'm going to go get paid regardless of if the team wins or loses. Not saying I would take that path, but I could see a person having that viewpoint.
Sure. Absolutely. So, there are going to be extremely talented players, top-level players that sign at places like Florida and other places that have been down because they still obviously have a lot going for them in certain ways. Great backup school, Falconer X says.
Honestly, I said that to my college counselor when I was at Cranbrook, and he looked at me like I was crazy because, they make you have a counselor and you go to all the, meetings and you figure out, okay, like where are we going to apply? And, obviously I went to a prep school, so they push you to apply to these, upper echelon, the Northwesterns, the Washington, St. Louis, the Ivies and things like that. And I was like, okay, but you had to have a safety school on your list. I was like, Florida. I remember saying, Florida. Yeah, safety school. He goes, word? I was just like, absolutely. Like, yeah, and was. So, whatever.
– Canes Live would come your way each and every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We are presented by FanDuel. It's the dawn of March Madness, of course, and Miami plays basketball in the ACC tournament with a double bye against Louisville, and that game is a night game.
2:30 mid-afternoon.
2:30. Okay.
Yeah, the ye old 7th or 8th period in school game for those in North Carolina when they would wheel in the thing. We never did that. And I went to the Waldorf School for elementary, and we didn't have TVs because Waldorf education does not believe in technology at all. So whatever. But for those who had things like that where they would have the CRT TVs on the cart and wheel them in, yeah, that would be that last period on Thursday game. Yeah, so middle of the day tomorrow, going to be there. Well, not there, here virtually for it. So excited.
I will date myself considerably, but the Yankees and the Red Sox had to play a game 163 in 1978. It's famous for Bucky Dent's home run. Our 5th grade teacher brought a TV in because the game started like 2 p.m. I watched, the second half of the game at home and was just a huge baseball fan. So, yeah, that was a great memory of our books all being closed and our 5th grade teacher to the chagrin of like many girls in the class saying we're watching the Yankees and the Red Sox playoff game. Great.
Oh, good times. Good times. Andy Mack has a question. Seeing Lennear commit last week or 6 days ago, and how every freshman and recent high schooler has mentioned Malachi Toney, who was the last player to have that kind of potential generational impact on the program. He says, Sean Taylor, but I think that was so long ago that there have been others since. I know that Miami was bad, but Duke Johnson was definitely a Pied Piper who got players to follow him to Miami, for darn sure. I think that we missed on a few of those. Obviously, the umpteen wide receivers and cornerbacks who went elsewhere in recent memory.
Amon Richards?
Amon Richards to an extent, but he was like the last guy in the boat, though. Like, he didn't announce until signing day. So he wasn't like a hop in the boat with me, boys, let's ride. He was like, oh, squads together, skirt, I'm here and let's go. Not taking anything away. I love Amon Richards. You know that as well as anybody being here in these shows where I, just wax poetically about him. But yeah, no, he wasn't like join the squad. Like, I'm here. I'm going to be here. Join the squad.
Is there a particular school where he almost went?
Alabama. Yeah, he famously went on a visit there and was one of the only people allowed.
I'm sorry, that was the 2015 or 16 class,
15.
Right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
they were in their heyday.
a visit and was one of the only people allowed inside Nick Saban's house, and then he went into a separate restroom area and defecated on the throne, which you have to do and everything. And like, it was not like he smeared it on the walls, but like, I just remember he was just like, nobody went in the bathroom at Saban's house, and he was like, it's third door down the right, go ahead and do whatever you got to do. And he had to do what he had to do, which is a funny story. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, honestly, like, the thing about like super premium recruits, there've been few who like got in the boat and then everybody followed, or like they announced early enough, because I know people are probably listening and thinking, Cam, Ruben Hurricane Bain waited, right? Like, it was until signing day that he announced. Now, like I said, I was never going to believe that he was going anywhere else, but it's few and far between where we've had somebody lead like that. Like, I mean, hey, my boy, I got to DM him sometime soon. The DJ Dallas, the ambassador himself. We made all those graphics and everything. Remember, he came from South Georgia, and this is after Duke Johnson them. But like, he was like, yo, squad, like, I'm committed. He's on social media, in front of the scenes, behind the scenes. He's like, yo, I'm coming down. Squad, let's ride. Like, everybody in the boat, let's get it. Everybody doesn't have that gravitas. Everybody doesn't have that kind of personality. And even some of the bigger stars that we've had, like I said, they've waited till the end. And now, and like you're talking about Malachi Toney even, and I get it that there is ancillary benefit, but I was maybe focusing obviously on the current year. But yeah, you can see, if you look at a Ruben Bain, if you look at a Malachi Toney, what they did in their time here has ripple effects on down the road. So I guess that was kind of a dual answer in looking present class and then subsequent classes. But I mean, I would honestly, if you're not talking about Bain and you're not talking about Toney, I think you're going to look back a little bit for some of those guys that were magnetic for others to join with them.
When I think of DJ Dallas, first of all, I envision broad shoulders, tall for a running back, right?
Like 6'1", yeah.
Maybe not to the extent of like an Eric Dickerson, Caleb Johnson kind of look, but leaning in that direction. The other thing I think of is I believe they had a 14-3 lead in the Orange Bowl against Wisconsin. And my thought at that time was, why aren't they running him? He's gaining yardage every time he gets the ball. Why are they throwing the ball on like 2nd and 3?
Yes, I agree. We were running them out of our barn and then called that tunnel screen for a pick six, and he threw the ball right to the receiver, right to the damn defensive lineman.
The edge. Yeah.
And nothing was like that. That play lost us the game. Like, that was it. That's where but like, yeah, we should have just continued doing what we're doing. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Antonio Woods with the question and the championship belt in your Abby. I see you there, Playboy. Do you think that Javian Mallory from West Boca, 4-star running back recruit, will get to see some playing time this season with the running back room being so stacked? No. Plain and simple. Short answer. If he does, then multiple things, I believe, have gone wrong. And not because he's untalented, right? Just because you have veteran guys who have performed at this level. Even a Jordan Lyle, who had a sophomore slump, he's performed at this level already, right? So for Javian Mallory to get, outside of the FB schedules, I need the 2026. I got to update this link eventually. But I mean, I could see maybe a couple of games, but like I don't think that he's going to get more playing time than a red shirt would allow. You know what I mean? Like the FAMU game, the Central Michigan game. So, okay, like a HBCU team at a directional Michigan school. Cool. Maybe one other game. Okay. So I'm not going to say that he, doesn't have the ability to hit the field at all. But if he's having like playing meaningful snaps and like a lot of them, I think things have gone wrong. The guys are not performing. Guys are injured. We probably lost a couple of games that we shouldn't, and we're in a position where we're probably not looking at all towards the ACC championship game and or playoff. And it's like, hey, maybe we infuse more youth to move forward towards next season and kind of mortgage this year already for the future development. I think one or more of those things would need to be true. If we're talking about him specifically, and again, this is no slight to Javian Mallory. He's a great player who I look forward to seeing play well at the University of Miami. This is the best running back room in America where everybody came back. I just don't see it for him to get a lot of like significant playing time in moments that matter. I just don't really see that for him this season because, again, you got young Fletch leading the way. You got Marty Brown, who already had a role, leading the way. You got Gerard Pringle, who was so damn good that he went to the top of the list up there. We got Jordan Lyle, who was incredible as a true freshman, had a sophomore slump from hell, but he's talented as all get out, and he's still there. And I know that he got a chip on his shoulder the size of the Rock of Gibraltar trying to get back up with that rotation. And then Chris Wheatley-Humphrey, who, regardless of how you feel about him, is fast and physical, and he's been here for a good long time. And he's not going to want to abdicate any of his potential playing time in base offense formations, not return situations, because he's a faster player and a better returner than J.D. Mallory could ever be. But none of those guys are just going to sit there and I'm going to let this dude come in here. And I just don't see enough of them moving aside for injury or lack of performance reasons where Javian Mallory plays his way into major playing time as a true freshman. I just don't personally see it. But I think that he's a very talented player. I'm very excited that he's in this recruiting class, and I think the future is bright for him, even if the preponderance of his playing time does not come as a true freshman in 2026.
I was just curious to look at Jordan Lyle's game log from last year.
Yeah, no bueno.
Yeah, decent game against Stanford.
Can you go back to the previous? Can you go back to the previous season for his stats? I mean, 7.4 yards a carry to 3.1.
Wow.
Even if you take out the 91-yarder at South Florida, like, come on, guys. Like, no.
Yeah, he still has 53 53 for 300 plus, so he's still at 6 yards a carry.
That's what. Yeah. Exactly. So, like, I don't know people, well, it was take the 90 or whatever. Yeah, take out the long run at Florida. Or, sorry, USF. He's still way. So that's even half of the regular or the non-super duper explosive all-time longest rush carries. Like, yeah. And yeah, okay, fine. He got in at the end of the Virginia game, 2 carries for what? Or yeah, like I'm not saying that every single game, like the Duke game, 1 carry for 1 yard. But like in general, yeah, no, it was just the slump from hell for him. But yeah, Mallory would have to surpass Wheatley-Humphrey, Lyle, and or Brown, if not, well, Lyle or Pringle or Brown, probably 3 or 2 of those 3 to work his way into like meaningful major playing time. Yeah, I just don't see it. Will Miami sell out every home game? No. I mean, by sales, yes. By attendance, no. FAMU and directional Michigan, and the direction being central, which I know is not technically a direction, but you get what I'm saying. But yeah, your first 2 games at home are FAMU and directional Michigan. And then you got Florida State in that's not until October the 17th. Like, no, we're not. I mean, yeah, no, I don't see it. Then Pitt, Duke, Virginia Tech, Boston College. No.
It's not a great home schedule.
It's a pretty bad one, to be perfectly honest. I mean, you got Florida State in a possible with, I mean, maybe two possibles, depending on. So Florida State, obviously, 10-pole every year. Boom. Pitt, that's a possible, but we'll see, because that depends on how their season's going. Duke, that's a possible, but I mean, that's going to be the Manny Diaz, Darian Mensah, Cooper Barcade, get back, whatever game. Fine. But like, is that we're going to sell out the joint draw? No. It's we're going to have a good week on here draw, but like, whatever. And then Virginia Tech, I mean, that's a bigger draw as a game than Duke, but we'll see. I mean, obviously, you got the rebuilt team and James Franklin storyline, and them trying to get back to being something, and Brent Pry taking a demotion at the place where he was. I mean, that's his alma mater. He was the head coach, got fired, and it's just like, you know what? I did better as your right-hand man, so you can have the big seat, the big piece of chicken. I'll stay here in Blacksburg where I played and where I went, and just put me back at defensive coordinator, just like we were in Happy Valley before. Get the band back together, reunion tour, let's make it happen. Cool, fine. There are storylines, but again, sell out? Like full? Again, by sales, I believe so. By attendance, be real.
When has anybody ever been a coordinator at a school in which they were the head coach, at a major school?
It's happened a couple of times, because when that move happened, it was listed. I don't have that list memorized. I did see that some people put it out there that it had occurred. But yeah,
okay. I'm going to have to think long and hard about that one.
Yeah.
At the same school. I can think of guys, Chip Kelly, all sorts of people that.
But like, yeah, I was the head coach. I was relieved of those duties. They brought in somebody else, and then I went to a subordinate position at the same location. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, from a football standpoint, if things stay relatively the same, Duke and Pitt are the two best opponents at home. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Florida State, because Florida State's Florida State.
Sure.
Like from a narrative, fan base, alumni, rivalry. Yeah.
And to sell out Hard Rock is what, $75K?
I think it's a little bit less than that. 65. It was 76,000, and then after the renovations, they got rid of 10,000. So it's about 65, 66,000.
I can't quite get the read on Adam. I lost his handle here, 5 Adam, but he doesn't sound like a Miami fan, which is fine. But he's not knocking them. He just doesn't sound like a Miami fan. But he's asking about joining the SEC, and obviously that narrative has cooled off considerably about the big three in the ACC with Clemson, Florida State, and Miami. But who knows, with the powers that be involving college football and the future of the sport and the reorganization possibilities of the sport, what could happen? You, from what I remember of our conversations, are more of an advocate of Miami joining the Big Ten than the SEC.
From a cultural perspective, it's a better fit in the Big Ten. Yes, absolutely. And especially because it is like South Florida in general. I call it like tropical New York. Like it's very like, it's not Florida, and it's not capital T, capital S, the South. It's not. It is South directionally. It is not the South. You know what I mean? Clemson and Florida State, however, in their locations, they are the South in an SEC kind of a way. And you guys know what I mean. It's not the same. But when you look at the size of the institution, when the whatever it was with the research grant, formation, like that league or conglomerate of schools and things like that. Like it fits more holistically with the Big Ten than the SEC for everything other than pure geography, because it's the second southernmost FBS school, because technically FIU is further south geographically. But yeah, no, I don't see that. So I do think that, we do need to get out of Dodge. But yeah, I would say I think that the synergy is there more in the Big Ten than the SEC.
The Big Ten obviously seems to be doing just fine with 3 consecutive national championships. But back when this first started to simmer, you probably recall, I thought that the Big Ten would be making, now Florida State was in much better condition at that point, but a great move in going to Florida, because that's the only thing the Big Ten doesn't have is a great recruiting footprint. Now it's obviously better with Southern Cal and UCLA, but going to Florida and grabbing Miami and Florida State.
Yeah. People mentioning guys who had players follow them to Miami. Duke Johnson, like I said, Duke Johnson was the one. Stacey Coley, I love Stacey Coley, maybe a little bit, but not widespread or anything. Quarterman, Pinckney, McLeod, I will say a little bit for those guys. Yeah. Will Nick reclassify? He's a 2027. I don't know if you meant him or Nick Lennear, that is, or a different Nick or a different player. Falconer says that Florida State will sell out Emmy Pack. Florida State will sell out if their season goes the way that I think that it will. Packed? Maybe no Samusho. Or it'll just be a lot more Miami fans. But again, Florida State has a wide alumni base, and a lot of people live down here who went there, unfortunately for them. Yeah.
It's difficult for me to liken this Florida State free fall to many others. And part of that is due to the new era of NIL and the players being paid and them being in such apparently a rough spot in trying to salvage that. My goodness. Just look at their quarterback position coming up this year. They got a quarterback who filled in a little bit at Auburn and was kind of a starter at Stanford. And this is like his 5th year. We know he's not a really good quarter. We know he's a solid backup quarterback. That's what he should be in a major conference. And that's what they have settled for.
Yep. And their spring practices have started, and the propaganda of, these guys are, looking different and stepping up into big leadership roles, and everything is turning around. And respectfully, we don't believe you. You need more people. No.
It's bad when my Florida State guys, and I'm not saying this behind their back, I've said this to them, they've said it, they don't want to do shows because they've got nothing to talk about. They say, we've got nothing to talk about. It's hard to look at the transfer portal. We can be like, there's 3 guys that we can say, oh yeah, they can play, but you're not going to be overly excited about them, but they're good players. They're fine. But then the rest of the transfer portal is just nothing.
Tried to tell them. I mean, it's so bad. I saw even my good friend Bud Elliott with the Noelcast. He was like, we're going to do 3 a week through the end of these contractual sponsor obligation contracts. And they're not re-upping those with us because y'all ain't listening. And we're not going to do all of this because the juice ain't worth the squeeze, which, hey. I would say you hate to see it, but you don't. Oh, boy. Ew. Oh, the question was about, can Nick Lennear reclassify? No, he's going to play high school ball this year. He's not going to play in this high. No. Juan Manuel Ventura. Hey, Cam. Hey. Do you think I prefer a nickel a nickelback to replace Superman, Keontae Scott, Fitzgerald, Thornton, or his favorite, Hard Eyes, Damari Brown. I think all of them. I think depending on the situation, I think they can rotate. I think that we have multiple options there. I've long been a guy on here. I've said that Damari Brown has a skill set to play inside, even though he's 6'1" and rocked up. Like, he can play that spot. Thing about Damari Brown, you can't make the club in the tub. You got to be available. Like, you can't be injured all the time. Omar Thornton coming over from Boston College, I think is going to get the right of first refusal. I think that Bryce Fitzgerald is going to play there also. I think that he's also, Bryce Fitzgerald, he might start, across from Zachariah Poyser in the secondary and just play, then you can do different things, because we know if you need a center field safety who can go get it in anywhere back here across the whole back 40 of the ranch, Bryce Fitzgerald going to go get that ball. So, yeah, I think that they can all have an impact there. I'm interested to see how it goes during the spring. I'm interested to see what some of the reports of the snap distribution between those guys and maybe others are there, because we do have a bunch of defensive backs. Maybe a Dylan Day gets a look in some scenarios. Maybe a Chris Ewald, even though I don't know Chris Ewald, he could be physical. So I don't know. But I think that we have a plethora of options, and I think that we can attack this in different ways. So, yeah. My heart or my gut says Omar Thornton is probably the first guy there. Bryce Fitzgerald maybe being 1A, but also looking at like a nailed-on starting spot at safety. And then Damari Brown. Yeah, I think that. Yeah.
Falconer coming back strong. When Cuba opens, how affect Miami football and turf?
I mean, man, we can go down there. We can get some great seeds, like they just have, such it's incredible biodiversity that we can integrate in there and everything. You got to check it out, man. It's going to be a real big, it's going to be a subtle change, but small changes can make big differences. And I think this is going to be one of those areas. Oh, boy. I love the ongoing turf gag with Falconer. Carlos Mergal, having hired a blocking tight end coach, how can we see improvements? Well, we hired a tight ends coach who was coached offensive line. So, yeah, I do think that we should see improvement. I think that we just need to see improvement from tight end overall, regardless of who's coaching them. But someone with Vidi's history in coaching, I believe that he has the skill set to be able to affect that change, even if his most tenured and highest successful position was at a different position. But Mario Cristobal himself and others have history as offensive line coaches who have also coached tight ends and tight end rooms to being very successful. So I just think that there needs to be growth and development, period, overall, regardless of who's coaching it, whether it was, Vidi or not. And yeah, I think that I would like to see some more opportunities go to players not named Elijah Lofton. Sorry, I just don't see it for him. I think we need more Luka Gilbert. I think some Gavin Mueller in there. I think that Elijah Lofton can be a nice little piece of sabor on the side. He can sprinkle a little this, sprinkle a little that, yada, yada, yada. But I think that like the bulk of that position, I would like to see it go to someone else, because we've tried that experiment for 2 years with him, and I don't love the results.
All right, gotta love the results at the State of the U. Football and basketball coming together in March. What's the latest there?
Monday Musings, we were talking about basketball. I wrote a piece about basketball, their odds to win the ACC basketball tournament. And then we will look forward to spring ball in a little bit. So there's that. And yeah, I'm going to hit some recruiting eventually. StateOfTheU.com, obviously Underwood Sports at the State of the U on Twitter and Facebook. Yeah. See, Antonio Woods and some other people actually have some more questions. So I think I'm going to actually extend a little bit and answer those. Mark, it's been always a pleasure. If you want to stick around, obviously, you're more than welcome. If you want to mosey on down the road, then,
Cam, between you and I and some of our friends there in the chat, I am ending a 48-hour fast, so I can't wait to eat something.
Oh, boy.
Ending at 8 p.m.
2 minutes. 2 minutes. All right.
2 minutes to figure out, am I going to cook something because anything will taste good, or pizza was brought up a couple times today, and I thought, oh, yeah.
Hey,
pizza.
Well, okay. Well, congratulations on that accomplishment, and I wish you well with your forthcoming breaking of your fast.
Thank you, Cam. You're the best. Appreciate it, man, as always.
Hey, no worries. I'll catch you next week.
Thanks, man.
See ya. All right. Let's get into some of... Ooh, that was not what I wanted to press. That's what I wanted. Antonio Woods. I heard some people saying that this year's schedule is set up like Notre Dame and Indiana was last year to be favorable to reach the national championship. What is my take on that? We really have one game. Well, no, there's two games. There's at Clemson October 3rd and then at Notre Dame November 7th. Excuse me, Jesus. But it's an advantageous schedule. We have our even year road trip to California, to the state of California, but that's week 1 to Stanford. And then we have everything else in actual, ACC territory. And then, going up to Notre Dame, which South Bend, Indiana is in the Eastern time zone, in case you guys didn't know. So it's not in the Central time zone. So that's still in our, every other game is in the Eastern time zone, no? Home at Wake, yeah. Home at Clemson, yeah. Yeah. Outside of the opener, every other game is in the Eastern time zone. I think it's spaced out well. I think it's sequenced well. I might have preferred maybe one more game before the bye, because we have 5 games and then the bye, and then we play the last 7. Because this year we're back to a regular fall schedule of the calendar with only one bye week per team. So maybe I would have liked maybe 1 or 2 more games, but Clemson, that's going to be a physical game on the road, and then you get a bye, and then you get Florida State, and then you run the rest of it. Yeah, I think that it's set up in a good way, but you have to go out and win the games. But I do think that they, especially because the Stanford game on the road, you get that out of the way first thing. That's, I think, the most important wrench that's not being thrown into the spanner. You know what I mean? It's just get out there early, start the season out there, boom, done, move on. Everything else in the Eastern time zone, I like it. Muhammad says, yeah, the further north you go in Florida, the more in the south you are. Everything from Orlando north is the south, and everything south of Orlando is Florida, but it's, tropical New York, New Jersey, basically. Manuel Ventura. We're hearing the off-season workouts, O-line, D-line specifically, Shari Charles, Keyshawn Stansel, Ben Congdon, Max Buchanan, Jackson Cantwell. They're hitting the ground running. There's been lots of glowing reviews for a lot of players. One that I mentioned before that I'm really excited for is Hayden Lowe coming back off of that ACL, looking like a transformer out there at defensive end. So, yeah, we will see. And I think that was really good that a lot of these guys got to be part of the practices for the playoffs after they graduated from high school, and on the sidelines and with the team through the playoff run. You saw Jackson Cantwell in line, in doing the calisthenics and stretching and everything. And a little bit of a baby deer kind of look to him, but yeah, I would think that the flexibility and strength is going to be a little bit different for CC Mauinoa, who's been in this program for 3 full years, leading that line, as opposed to, someone who was in high school the day before or a couple days before those practices. But yeah, I think that they're very pleased with the off-season program work. It's not been a full off-season, obviously, for the incoming freshmen, but yeah, I think things are in a good place. We're going to see what happens with spring ball. Paulo, if Miami keeps close to 10 to 20 million per playoff appearance, why leave the ACC? For reasons more than the money. And I think that you can go find the money elsewhere. And that's also assuming that every year Miami would be the only ACC team in the playoffs, and that it would be a long run in the playoffs every single year, which we hope for, but I don't know if it is realistic because there have been few teams, if any, who have had consistent deep runs in these playoffs. And I know they were only in the second year of the new format, but yeah. Let's see. Will Florida State punting in 26 get them anywhere in 27? Will it get them a new coach and maybe a new coaching boost to the transfer portal and the end of the recruiting class? I don't know where they're saving the money now because there's some broke boys because they spent it before. And then they didn't get the return on investment. And instead of like Miami, where it said, okay, well, we just got more money and everything, they said, obviously, nah, not going to do it. So whatever. Tough stuff. Falconer, Jeremy Shockey for tight end coach. He's always around. Yeah, cool. Juan Manuel Ventura again. Cam, tell us interesting stories from college, school days, and seventh floor crew. Did Williams ever find his dog? I don't know about that. Is there a story that I can tell that it's appropriate for the airwaves that I've not already told? Or maybe, I tell another, or I tell one again. This is like asking me to choose my favorite drop of water in the ocean because I have tons of stories. I have all kinds of stories. Nope, can't tell that. You know what? I had to think of something organically because the ones that stick out are the ones that if we were in-person friends, we go to the bar and we, have a cocktail or three and, then I share those. But on these here airwaves, I think that discretion is a better part of valor, and I'm not going to say that. Anything else that I want to hit? Spring in South Florida is great. Can't complain. Love the weather. I know that I'm wearing this quarter zip, but I have the AC on in my apartment. So everything is smooth. I think that's where I'm going to end it. Yeah, when I'm searching for a story from my personal history as opposed to anything with the Miami Hurricanes like football program or athletics. I think I'm going to leave it there. But it has been a great hour and 5 minutes with you guys. Really appreciate you rocking with us. Really appreciate you being here. Cam Underwood Sports, at The State of the U on Twitter, which is where I mainly am because my tweet deck is broken. If anybody at the X Corporation hears this, please get back to me about fixing my tweet deck because I pay for it and I manage multiple accounts and I want it back. State of the U is website, stateoftheu.com. And we'll be here, might be here next week. Might take a spring break week before spring ball. Who knows? That's why you like. That's why you subscribe. Hit the notification bell. For Mark Rogers, who's already gone, my name is Cam Underwood. It's been real. It's been fun. It's been real fun. Peace.